French President Emmanuel Macron has told world leaders that it is a necessity for nations to impose a moratorium on deep-sea mining while speaking at the 2025 United Nations Ocean Conference. World leaders, scientists, and advocates have arrived for the conference today in the southern French city of Nice. The summit is meant to cover climate change, pollution, biodiversity, and making humanity's access to marine resources more sustainable. The French president has declared that the deep oceans, Greenland, and Antarctica are not for sale, while UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the deep sea must not turn into the Wild West as nations negotiate contentious new rules for seabed mining. Here's what the UN Secretary General had to say.
The deep sea cannot become the Wild West. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age of turmoil, but the resolve I see here gives me hope. Hope that we can turn the tide, that we can move from plunder to protection, from exclusion to equity, from short-term exploitation to long-term stewardship.
The conference, which is being held from 9th to 13th June, is co-hosted by France and Costa Rica. Reportedly, one of the stated goals of the French government is to convince enough states to ratify the High Seas Treaty adopted by the United Nations in 2023 for it to come to effect. Here's what the French president has said.
Si la Terre se réchauffe, l'océan, quant à lui, est en ébullition. Nos scientifiques nous disent des faits que nous n'aurions pu imaginer, des canicules au sein même de nos océans. Et comme la mer monte, en plus du feu, c'est la submersion qui nous guette. C'est pourquoi cette mobilisation est une nécessité. Aujourd'hui à Nice, nous avons plus de 120 pays, plus de 50 chefs d'État et de gouvernement, plus de 30 chefs d'organisations internationales qui ont fait le déplacement. Et ça vient d'être évoqué, 100 000 personnes qui participeront à cette conférence avec des milliers d'événements partout organisés. C'est inédit pour nos océans. C'était essentiel car l'océan nous relie tous au sein d'un seul et même écosystème.
Now let's hear it more from our guest, Des Magic. He's an environmental activist joining us live from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us today. What are the main challenges facing global agreement on a deep-sea mining moratorium, and how likely is consensus during this conference?
The main challenge, again, is our unbridled desire for more profit, more money, no matter what. And the Secretary General of the United Nations spoke very clearly to that. He said that we can no longer be destroying the ocean. We have to be protectors, not destroyers, because the ocean is such an important ecosystem. It is what the earth relies on. The ocean and the forests, they are sequestering carbon dioxide. They're both giving off oxygen. Oh, and is it food? The amount of food that comes from the oceans? Or is it just regulating weather patterns? Where do you think all the water for so many of the lakes in the world come from? They are fed by the oceans. Oh, and not to mention rain. So this is just most unfortunate that they're actually having opposition to people who want to do deep sea mining that they know categorically, without any trace of doubt, that this deep sea mining of the ocean beds is causing havoc for the ocean ecosystems, which are quite delicate. They're like water forests on the beds of the ocean, and they're coral reefs and different other places that so much of the ocean life depends on. So it is most unfortunate. They have absolutely no right to argue against that. And as the French president said, we must preserve a very, very large portion of our ocean. It's part of our Earth's delicate life support system. So how can you justify damaging your life support system, no matter how much money you're going to make?
And indeed, what role does the High Seas Treaty play in protecting biodiversity beyond national jurisdictions, and where does it stand in terms of ratification?
Yes, it's to ratify this treaty. It's coming on. It's very, very encouraging because it's fairly recently that the United Nations has been pushing for this. You know, they say out of sight, out of mind. You know, it's just water. It's under the water. You know, we try to ignore it for so long, and rightfully so. We concentrated a lot on ensuring that we try our best to protect the various ecosystems on the Earth's surface, okay? That's particularly the forests and so on, which are essential as well. But now with the further research that's been done, we're beginning to really appreciate the importance of these oceans. And it's encouraging to see that the United Nations, especially under the leadership of Antonio Guterres, who has been sounding the alarm without any qualms whatsoever, telling humanity that mankind is waging war against nature and this is suicidal. He used those exact words in 2015, and he's even using more strong phrases now. So it's encouraging to see under him that these treaties are coming up. I do believe that there is beginning to be enough pressure because in different parts of the world, they're feeling the effects of the climate change that had been predicted decades ago, particularly in France, who in November last year, they experienced a type of rainfall in Valencia, close to them anyway, in Spain. They experienced this kind of rainfall that place was overwhelmed. 1 year's rain fell in 8 months. So they're seeing it in different parts of Europe. So it's good that it is taking place there. And I'm optimistic that the treaties, a good number of them will be ratified. Whether they'll be adhered to is another matter. And that's why the people of the world, especially people like India and like Nigeria in Africa, we are very, very vulnerable because we have low-lying coasts, and already our coastlines are being impacted by the global warming that's affecting the ocean. And if you're going to be killing off the plant life because of deep sea mining, you're going to be affecting the capacity of the ocean to do its job, or one of its major jobs, sequestering the CO2. So you're going to have more warming. And we're feeling it already, the kind of floods that we're getting on our coastlines. But we should bear in mind the kind of floods that we will get if we don't stop this massive pollution of the atmosphere, particularly with the CO2 gases. And countries or continents like Africa and like India, we can come together. And once we come together, bury our little differences, our foolish little differences. Oh, you are this tribe. Oh, you are this religion. You are this what. But not forget about all that. The change has to come. Humanity has to change her attitude, have a renewal of her mind. And bearing in mind that if we don't do this, the catastrophic consequences upon us and our children will be unbearable. It'll be like not being awake, being able to wake up from your worst nightmare. And this could come sooner than expected because the bigger floods that we're seeing are coming earlier than anticipated. So we need to come together and ensure that these treaties are ratified. And if we can, if Africa and India and some of the other vulnerable countries come together, we have the majority voice in the world, and we can push this through. It has to be done. We have no choice.
Sir, we are running out of time here, but thank you very much, Des Magic, for joining us. He's an environmental activist from Nigeria. Thank you very much for sharing that insight. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring more news updates from around the world.